And welcome back, RosterWatch Nation. It's your friendly neighborhood trash man, and this is the Garbage Grab on behalf of RosterWatch.com, where we have all the fantasy information you'll ever need to dominate your leagues from the draft throughout the playoffs. Today, I'm going to be talking about rookie quarterbacks. There are quite a few that were drafted this year, but only a couple that are likely to get any significant playing time. And we're going to talk about those guys. We're going to talk about some of the guys who have an outside shot of starting at some point this season. So let's go ahead and get started with the first and foremost of these players, and that is Kyler Murray for the Arizona Cardinals. There are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Murray is the starter in Arizona. He's got a 4-year, $35 million contract to his name. And it's even more telling when Brett Hundley is his backup there in Arizona. It's hard to see Murray performing poorly enough during the preseason to lose that starter designation. The big question here is whether he's going to prosper for you once the fantasy season gets underway. And the verdict is still out. Murray's been up and down so far this preseason, going 6 for 7 for 44 yards in his first outing against the Chargers, but going only 3 of 8 for 12 yards in his most recent game against the Raiders, whose defense is lowly to say the least. Maybe they've improved this season. We'll see. Murray is expected to do a lot on the ground this season, but he's only had 1 attempt in the preseason and it's only gone for 4 yards. Chances are the Cardinals are handling him with kid gloves, as he's really their only option under center this season. And he still has 2 games left in preseason to kind of show what he's got. Murray's ADP right now may take a hit with the middling play he's had this far, but it's not a bad thing for those of us who are willing to take a chance on him. Mainly because his potential is sky high in that offense, and I'm not shying away from him. I am more inclined to take a second quarterback though, and there will be plenty of those available in the later rounds of your drafts if you use our patented draft cheat sheet on RosterWatch.com. Following Kyler Murray, we have, you might have guessed it, Dwayne Haskins of the Washington Redskins. Case Keenum is the odds-on favorite to start the season for Washington, but it's highly unlikely that he'll finish it. Haskins completed 7 of 14 passes for 114 yards and a touchdown in Thursday's preseason game against the Bengals, including a 55-yard rocket to Robert Davis. This is after a 2-interception first preseason game, but his improvement here is obvious. Colt McCoy, who actually might be the best quarterback on the team right now, has lingering leg issues, so he's out of the running for now, bringing Haskins even closer to taking the starting spot. Washington is a team in rebuilding, so it makes sense to give him a chance, but it also makes sense to bring him in slowly, especially when you have a serviceable quarterback like Case Keenum around. Haskins, though, I believe will make starts this season. I'm just not sure when, as his dynasty value is much higher than in standard formats right now until we see what's going on with him. But he looks like he's got the goods. He's got an arm. He seems to be pretty cool under pressure. I like him. Up next, we have Drew Locke of the Denver Broncos. He was taken in the second round of the draft as maybe a potential franchise quarterback for the erstwhile Broncos. Joe Flacco has a stranglehold on the job right now, which I can only say yikes to. But Locke has been working as the number 2, with a wily Kevin Logan nipping at his heels. It is disconcerting that Locke hasn't been able to separate himself from Logan, who is destined to hold a clipboard for his career in the NFL. Coach Vic Fangio has said that Locke is talented, he'll admit, but he's far away from starting in the NFL, and his preseason play has been somewhat indicative of that. He's looked a little bit lost at times and tends to miss his target more often than he should. He was fair in his most recent preseason game against Seattle. He threw a touchdown and an interception while completing 60% of his passes. Locke, in my opinion, is exclusively a dynasty hold for now. I don't foresee him seeing the field this season unless Flacco gets injured. Up next, after Locke, is Daniel Jones. And he might have ignited a full-blown quarterback controversy after his preseason debut. He went 5 for 5 for 67 yards and a touchdown, while Eli Manning went 1 for 1 for 3 yards and a 3 and out. Jones' second showing was a little less awe-inspiring. He threw 11 for 14 for 161 yards and another touchdown, but he also had 2 turnovers as well, and that will not cut it in the NFL. The fans and media seem to want Manning gone, but the team higher-ups are still behind him. Jones has yet to take a first-team snap with the Giants, if that's any indication of his chances at starting anytime soon. Either way, the team is going to lean heavily on Saquon Barkley, as they lack a true number 1 wide receiver at this point. So I'm tempering expectations for any quarterback under center for the Giants. Behind Haskins and Murray, though, I think Jones is my best bet to see a start in his rookie season. Up next, after Jones, we have Will Grier of the Carolina Panthers. Grier is a gunslinger in the mold of, say, maybe a Tony Romo. He was taken in the 3rd round of the draft. Now, Cam Newton missed 2 games last year, and he struggled to throw with a nagging shoulder issue for most of the season, but he seems to have turned that around already. So don't expect Grier to see the light of day anytime soon. He's strictly a dynasty hold if you want to go out and get him there in fantasy. Up next, after Grier, we have Ryan Finley, who has improved markedly since his erratic start to camp this year. In his second preseason game against Washington, he threw 20 for 26 for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns. Starter Andy Dalton seems to have a firm grip for now, and he seems to be a good fit for new coach Zach Taylor's offense, but Dalton did miss 5 games last season, so there's a chance Finley sees starts this year if Dalton has a similar year to last season. And Finley seems to be serviceable enough for some spot starts in fantasy if he does start under center for the Bengals. And last but not least, for guys, rookie quarterbacks I want to talk about that might have an outside shot of playing this season, it's Gardner Minshew of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Minshew, for all intents and purposes, looks like a career backup to most everyone who's watched him. And the main reason I'm even talking about him is because he's backing up Nick Foles. And Nick Foles has never started 16 games in his entire 7-year career in the league. You know, he's done a lot for the Eagles in relief of Carson Wentz the past 2 seasons. But, like I said, he's never played a full season. He's playing for a Jaguars team that has some questions at wide receiver. There's no home run hitters, no consistent home run hitters at least for him right now. So, Nick Foles, it's not out of the realm of possibilities that Gardner Minshew makes a start at some point in the season if Nick Foles falls flat on his face, as he has in, many years ago. So, anyways, these are my rookie quarterbacks who I think have either a good to fair chance of starting a game this season. In any case, they should all be owned in Dynasty if it's a deep Dynasty league, especially the first 3-4 guys I talked about. Anyways, this is the Trash Man, and this is the Garbage Grab on behalf of RosterWatch.com. Until next time, be ready.